Hello and welcome. Here we are looking at migrating from Google Drive into OneDrive. So we're taking things out of the Google platform and putting them into the Microsoft 365 OneDrive environment. We're going to be using the MigrationWiz tool to do that. So I'm going to show you how that is to be done. The first thing is obviously we've got to have the source environment and the target environment set up. So I'm going to run through that first, and then we'll dive in and create the project and bind the whole thing together and perform a migration. So just before I go into that setup, I want to show you the source files we're working with. This is a Google Cloud account with some data in it, as you can see here, about 1.5 gig of data we're going to bring over. And that is set up on that, it's a dummy domain, it's the rocksmashers.com domain. So we've actually added that into the OneDrive tenant already, because we can have the domain sitting in Google and the domain sitting in M35 simultaneously. It's just things like for mail delivery and the like, the MX records are pointing to Google. So they're still working in the Google environment, but it means we can set up all of the accounts inside the M365 environment too. They can even log in and start to look at those as well, but there's obviously no data there yet. So that's what we're going to be achieving now. And here, there is the OneDrive. It is provisioned, so there is data there. Now, the MigrationWiz tool will provision the OneDrive if the users don't have one provisioned already. So that's a nice little thing that they will do on your behalf. However, this is obviously blank. They haven't used it at all. So it really is that blank canvas where we just want to get all the data from Google Drive into right here. So we're going to be taking this information and getting it across into OneDrive. So firstly, we'll go into the Google site, which is console.cloud.google.com. If you haven't been in there before, you need to go in as your super admin on the Google side, and then you can set up these projects. So that's one of the prereqs and the criteria. You do have a super admin account to go ahead and set up this, and obviously you need to have the Google Cloud provisioned. There are a lot of free services. This is the API calls that we're doing into the back end for the Google Drive. That's a free API. So there really is no charges on Google side for doing any of this particular part that I'm going to be talking through. Any of the other servers, if you start turning on VMs and things, obviously that's a cost between you and Google. But the APIs that we're doing for the MigrationWiz project, there is no charge on the Google side to access those, just to be clear about that. We go up here to select the project, and we will say new project. We get dropped out to another screen. I'm going to call this MigrationWiz Data Move and link it to there are no organizations in there in this particular one. So we're not going to have to pick anything. I just keep it as the default standard, and that will go ahead and create that project for me. So now that one's created, we can go back to that selected project and we can choose the MigrationWiz Data Move. And then we get thrown into this, which is obviously a lot more information about what we can set up in this particular project. So we're going to go across to the APIs and services and hit library. There we go. And for this project, we want the Google Drive API and the admin SDK. So you can go through and find them. And you can see you might be lucky and it's right on the front there. So we just click that one and we enable it like that. That will come back to us saying, okay, there we go. Jump back into the library. We'll go find the admin SDK. Now, if you can't see it in the list, let's say I'm not going to scroll down, you can just type that. And you can find it like this. And that takes you in the same way, and we'll just hit enable on that one as well. Jumps us back to here. So now we're going to set up the service account we use for these items. So we're going to go into back to the menu here, and I am an admin, and there's a service accounts that we're looking for in here. There it is. So we'll hit create service account. We're going to give it a name. We'll just call this one MigrationWiz service account. So, and that will create that ID for us there, which is good. We don't have to put a description. That's fine. We just say create and continue. And for the selection of roles, we're going to select owner. Continue with that. And from here, just hit done. We're not interested in these items. And there he is. Now we need to create a key ID for that service account as well, which is kind of like the password for it. We go here and manage keys. And we're going to be add key, create new one, and we want it to be the JSON key. Like that. And you can see it's actually downloaded that JSON file for us, which is obviously what we need. We'll close that. Thank you. The next step is to set up the scopes for the migration. So back to our menu, we go to the IAM and admin, which are obviously already here, and in service counts. You can see now what we do is we grab that unique ID number. And that is this one here, handy that we can copy that to the clipboard like so. Now we open a new window and we go to the admin.google.com page. And this will show us all about obviously the main account for the Google Workspace admin. We need to go down to security here, and we go down to access and data control and into API controls. You can see this screen. And we're interested in this manage domain-wide delegation. Now once we're in here, we'll hit add new, and this is the client ID that we just copied out from the other screen, which I can paste in, as you can see that. Now the OAuth scopes that it needs, I will put them in the description of the document, but these come from the help center. Obviously BitTitan know that, and it's in there. I'll put a link in there to the document about how to do all of this as well, so you can see what I'm working from. But it does have these 3 items, which I'm just going to paste in now for you. And when you paste them in, they go in like so, and you hit authorize. There's a nice easy way to see them, because they're going to come up like this. Once again, a little bit hard to read, but if we hit view details, then you can see the items that I did paste in off of that page. So these are the scopes linked up to that client ID that we are giving it access to. Now remember to keep that JSON file that we downloaded from one of the other screens there. That's important for the setup for the MigrationWiz project, so we will need that. So hang on to it. Now that is everything we need to do on the Google side. Now we've got to do some things on the M365 side. So let's jump over to that and check those out. So I'm logged into the target tenant now as the admin account. Now because the MigrationWiz console uses app-based authorization to do all the work, we need to have a URL from that little help center site. We're going to paste that into this on a new window, and you'll see that it will ask for the permissions for that to work. Now we can go and clean these up at the end, so it's not a permanent thing. We can take them out, but you can find it in the, like I say, in the help center document. I'll put it in the description for the video as well, and you'll be able to see where they come from. So that is the URL there. So we'll put that in, and you'll see that it's going to ask us for the login again, and it's asking for permissions for the MigrationWiz to do all of this work. So obviously for that to work, we have to hit accept, and then it will actually jump us back to the BitTitan screen once you come to there. So that is done. That's done on the tenant. It's a one-time thing. As I say, we can remove it at the end, and there are details in that help center document about how to remove those as well. So really what I'm saying is, it really is a good idea to have that help center open. So let me just show you what that looks like. As you can see, this is the Google to OneDrive for Business Migration Guide. And as we scroll through, you can see that there's a lot of information here about how to set things up. This is all of the OAuth requirements that we've just run through and just done. So that's all of that. And then it obviously takes us down to the destination environment, and you'll find down here, that is the link to the URL that I've just used. Now, the next phase in the setup is we do need a MigrationWiz service account just in the tenant. I'm going to give this one a name, just call it MigWizPlanium.com. That's in the target tenant, obviously, in the M365 world. And we're going to add that to a new security group. So I've just created this user already, and now I'm just going to go ahead and create the security group too. So under teams and groups, you've got active teams and groups. We need to go to security, and you can see if one is already there. We are then going to add a group. Now, when you do that, you obviously have to change the group type to just security. That's all we're after on that one. And next, and we call this group name is going to be called MigrationWiz. That will be for MigrationWiz to use for, just to put a label around that. Next, And note we don't need any AD roles assigned there, and we'll just create that group. Then we need to drop that user in there, the MigrationWiz one that we've just done. So we just go in here and have a look at the members, add a member, and it will be MigrationWiz, and that should come up. There we go. Add, and we are done with that step. So now we're ready to create the MigrationWiz project. So we'll go ahead and sign in, come through there. We're just going to hit the create project on this first screen. Now this will obviously be a document project. So we'll click here and give it a project name. This Rocksmashers OneDrive project will say we need a new customer. We haven't done this one before. Fill in those details and hit save. Now that'll take us to the next step, which is going to be the source settings. This will be the source details for the Google endpoint. We say new here, and we'll give it a name. Google Rocksmashers. Now the endpoint type for this one is going to be Google Drive own service account. Click that one there. And this is where we provide that JSON file. This was the one we downloaded off of the API controls inside the Google Cloud. So that's where we go ahead and select that file that we downloaded for that. So upload that one there. And now it wants the super admin username and the password so it can do the connection. We'll give that in this portion here. And that just needs the name of the account there. We hit add. It'll give us that information. We confirm that and say yes, next step. And that'll take us to the destination, which is going to be obviously the target M365 accounts or tenant that we want to attach to. So we say new here, and once again, give it a name. There, and the endpoint type for that one is going to be OneDrive for Business. Now in here, we're going to add the credentials for the administrator to get in. And this is going to be the service accounts that we set up. I like to do things with those service accounts because you can obviously take them away when you're done, rather than putting an actual name on the M365 connections. So this one will be that the MigrationWiz at Palladium.com. So I'm going to put the details in here. And we'll tell it we'll use the standard Microsoft provided Azure storage. If you want to use your own Azure storage, you can do so here. You click on this use, and it will then prompt you for the details around that. I'm going to use the standard Microsoft provided storage and hit add. And so if we go to summary, now this is where it opens up for us the option to do the advanced options, which I'm going to go into next. So when we look at the advanced options, you'll notice one that is there, which is saying document browsing mode is moderate. We do recommend that get changed. Instead of saying moderate, we change it to full copy. Now this is because a moderate will only scan for files that exist from what the user owns in the OneDrive. If we need to go a little bit deeper and have files that are migrated that are not owned by the user of the OneDrive, then we need to put the full copy in. This has come about because sometimes the documents that live in there don't show up in the M365 side when it comes out the other end. So obviously a full copy is going to make sure that all documents that the users see inside their Google Drive is going to show up when we do the migration to OneDrive. I'm going to add an additional one in here, which is this one here, increase path length limit. That will enable the use of the 400 characters for the path file name. Obviously, if you've got some long names in there, that's relevant to do. And another item in here, I'll put in initialization timeout is 8. That's going to increase the window for the timeout to 8 hours. Sometimes if the Google API is not responding as quickly as it should, it can time out more than that you'd like it to. So therefore, increasing it to an 8-hour window is definitely going to help fix that and stop those runtime errors with timeouts that you sometimes see when you're using the Google API controls to get the data. Now, there are some additional things you can put in. They are in that Help Center article. There's a whole list of additional options. These are the basic ones that I would change. If you've got specific things happening, like you do have some errors with some of the folder lengths or anything like that, you might want to go and check out that help desk article. It does talk about the more detailed things you can put into the advanced options. It's the same document that I was referring to earlier in the video. So it's just down the bottom of that. Look up, just scroll down and find the advanced options, and you'll see what they can look like. So now I'll hit Save Project, and that'll take us back to the main screen where we can add the users in, so we can put some details around what we're going to be migrating next. So we'll click on the quick add. We only have one person, so I'm happy just to type that in. You can see in this demonstration, the username is going to be the same on both sides because we have that rocksmashers.com account on the M365 tenant. It's going to be the same on the Google Drive as well. So we're going to add those in there, hit Save Item and Close, take us back to our main screen where we can start things off. Now for licensing on this one, I'm going to be using that user migration bundle. We're going to apply that across this account because we're going to come back later and do the mail. So we do have UMB licenses for these. So I'm just going to tick him and let's click in the help button. That's actually handy to show you about this, how you go ahead and do that. So that's a mouse click there. I will go this one instead. Apply user migration bundle licenses. There we go. And that, yes, apply. That takes a minute or so to apply those. Let me just jump back into that item there. You can see that links us straight through to that help desk article as you saw before, but it does tell us how to go ahead and purchase licenses and how to do all of that, which is handy. Also how to redeem coupons and look at the license consumption as well. Talks about all the different types there. So it's a good article to read in terms of licensing, just to understand how licensing works in the BitTitan ecosystem. So yeah, have a look at that, and I will just close that back off, come back in here, and just wait for just a minute or so while it updates that license detail for us. So with that license applied, I can now go here and I will do the verify credentials. Now the verify credentials, you do it against one account, but obviously the credentials are going to work for every account that you do. So if you had 100 people in your project, then you just need to do verify credentials just for the one, and you'll find it will go ahead and do that and check that it can get into Google, and it can also get into the M365 backend as well. So we submit that and we'll come back and see what the results of that are shortly. After a short time, we refresh and we see it says completed verification. That's always a good sign. That means the credentials on the source and the target tenant are correct, and it means we can move ahead with our migration now. In the same fashion as we do a mail migration, we do have the option to do a pre-stage and only take information and data which is more than 30, 60, or 90 days or earlier, which can obviously speed things up when you do the cutover, because you'd pre-stage everything first and then you do the final cutover later. So that means you go to pre-stage here and you can say, yes, I want to migrate anything from 30 days ago and backwards. And then when we do the final push on the migration night, when they want to be cut over, then you do the full migration. Now I'm going to do, on this particular example, I'm going to go straight into full migration, which will just do everything in one hit, as you can see here. And so we don't have the option to go 30 or 60, 90 days back, just because this is more of a smaller situation. If you've got a lot of users and you've got a lot of data to come over, we definitely recommend pre-staging it first, and then you do the final push, which will be the last whatever percentage that is when you do the cutover, and it will just keep up to date with all the changes when you do that full migration. So here you can see I'm going to be doing step one, which is documents and document permissions in one go. We'll come back and do the shortcuts afterwards. We can only do those once the full migration has run. Now we can also schedule it, so we can say automatically start this at a particular date. I'm not going to do that for this one. I'm just going to hit start, but if I did, I could put a date and time in, and that's also local time too for you. That's how the timing system works in there. But I will take that off for this one, and we'll just go ahead with a full migration of documents and document permissions. We'll hit start, and that will go to a submitted stage. There we go. Now for the purposes of the video, I'm going to go into the OneDrive, which is where the target data will end up for this particular user. I'm going to leave this running, and I'm just going to see the data capture in here. So obviously it's going to take a few minutes or be a little longer to actually get the data over and get working, but I will then capture the point at which the data starts to go in, so you can see it coming into this area here. So yeah, you can see this is good. The items are starting to show up, and the file size, obviously the item count is going up as well. So we know that things are happening and it looks to be working well. If we check back on the MigrationWiz console, we can see, yeah, that's now completed. Now we do have 16 errors. I can tell you what those are going to be for. It's the data I had in there had a .ds_store file, which is a Mac file, which you can't have into OneDrive. And that's what the errors are going to be about. And yeah, there we see. DS store not supported at destination. That's what those are for. So no issues with those. But the rest of it is all completed nicely. Look at the project details here. We can see, yeah, there's our errors again, but it has copied over 1.49 gig of data, which is accurate. If I look at the OneDrive now as well, you see, yep, there's our data. And let's have a look at the music. And you can say, yeah, we've got files in there. So that's certainly good. Now, the next thing is I'll go back up here, select them again, and do the starter for migration. And I'm just going to go through and update this step 2 here. If there are any shortcuts or anything in there, then this will go and process those. So we'll just do that, start migration, and let that one run. That runs through very, very quickly, to be fair. So that won't take very long. So I'll come back once that is done. After running that second pass with the step 2, we can see that that has completed with 0 errors on there. And if we go into the report, you can see, yep, no errors. Everything looks good. 1.49 gig migrated. So really, we consider this OneDrive migration for this one particular user all done. If we had plenty more, we'd obviously run them all. And at the end, however, and so I want to bring that up, is that it's good practice to now remove that application delegation that we had right at the start, where we gave the MigrationWiz backend access into the M365 environment. So let me show you how you might want to remove that, just as a final good housekeeping step. And we just started a PowerShell window as administrator, and we're going to use the connect Azure AD. If you don't have the Azure AD command that's there, it's going to be the install-Azure AD. We do have that installed on this machine, so I'll just hit the connect, and it will ask me for my credentials for the tenant we want to access. Put that in. It'll ask for password as well, and obviously jump into the sign-on request. There we go, just including that so you can see exactly what it does. Okay, so you can see we're logged into the correct tenant. Now, the command we need to do is we need to look up the IDs. Now, these are the object IDs of the service principal. So we will type that in. We will say Azure IDs. And if I just tab across, you can see we can just do that. And search string is migration. We want to pick out all the ones with the MigrationWiz. So we'll do that. And you see it's come back with a few. Obviously, I've got a few projects that we are running in there, but the one I'm interested in here is the one with the SharePoint full control. That's the one that we did right at the start of the project. So I'm going to cut and paste that object ID out, which is this guy right here. And now we will remove that. So that is remove-Azure AD service P and put a tab, and then object ID, and paste that in there. Now that is gone. If I just run up a few commands, you'll see, yeah, the SharePoint full control has now disappeared. So that's, as I say, a good cleanup task to do at the end of your migration once you've finished everything, is to take out those rights and perform that quick task there. So with that, that concludes the session of what we're doing with the Google Drive into the M365 OneDrive. Thank you for watching, and remember that if you do have questions, you can obviously reach out to the help desk, which is the help.bittitan.com, for any of the items when you have live projects on the go. And with that, I'll leave you with it. Thank you.